Hi, I'm Rodney from Finance Beauty and Barber Supply. We're putting together a series of videos to demystify the hairdressing scissor. This is our second installment. In this particular video, we're going to discuss sharpening. We're going to go through the steps, the basic fundamental steps in sharpening a convex edge hairdressing scissor. So the first thing we have to do when we're sharpening a pair of scissors is we have to take the scissors apart. This particular style of scissors, this is a Casio Design Master. This one comes with a adjuster knob, a simple adjuster knob. Very easy to take it apart. Simply undo the adjuster knob. Then underneath that adjuster knob, as you'll find on a lot of scissors, there's a little clicker plate. You can see that right there. The adjuster knob simply rotates on that clicker plate and goes click, click, click as you're turning the adjuster knob. Those are the two pieces on the one side. Then there's the post for the scissor, and you also have a little washer on the bottom of the post. On this particular Casio Design Master, that washer's on there really tight, so there's no worries about that washer falling off. But on this pair of scissors, this is the Casio Blue. On this one, it's a simple screw. So you do need a screwdriver. The disadvantage of the screw is that you can't just manually, without a tool, adjust your tension. The advantage is you adjust your tension and it stays. It doesn't alter. With a screw, you only have the screw, but then these washers are really easy to lose. On the Casio Blue, particularly, there's two washers. There's a metal washer, and then there's this little silicone washer underneath as well, which is, this little metal washer disappears really easily. So you got to be very careful with that one. That'll just drop off and you'll never see it again. It'll drop onto the floor, into your pile of hair on the floor, or into the little crevices, and then oops, there is your second washer, which is a little harder to come off. So you might not even need to take it off the screw because it's on so tight. Sometimes they just fall off. But this one's a real stubborn guy. It doesn't want to come off at all. So maybe I'll just leave it on there. It's kind of halfway on and halfway off. I'm just going to push it back on again. So there is also a second washer on that screw. So there you have the essential elements, the essential pieces in the assembly of two different styles of scissors. So we have the scissors apart now. We're going to sharpen them one blade at a time, and I'm going to use this machine here. There's two different types of machines. There's a vertical style machine and a horizontal style machine. My preference is the vertical style machine. A lot of sharpeners prefer the horizontal style machine. The essential element is with a convex edge, and you get to see my beautiful artistic talent here again. With the convex edge, we want to maintain the integrity of this edge. So with a horizontal style machine, the edge is going to be on the horizontal grinder here, so that a lot of sharpeners feel as though this better maintains that convex style edge. On the machine that I'm going to use, it's a circular machine, so a little bit harder to maintain that convex edge because the circular wheel is hitting the blade on the face like that. So this blade has to shift. We have to be able to move the blade in order to maintain that convex edge. This is maybe a little hard to understand, but it's really important that the sharpener maintain the integrity of that convex edge. So whether you're using a vertical machine like this one that I'm using or a horizontal machine, you must maintain that convex. So this is a little technical, and maybe I've confused everybody with this, but as I do the sharpening, this will make more sense. I'll reference these a couple more times. So the two different methods of obtaining a convex edge, there's actually lots of different methods, but these are two different fundamental methods in getting a convex edge. So we put the scissor in the jig. I determine the angle at which I want to sharpen the scissor. For this jig, I know this jig very well. 40 degrees is the optimum angle for this pair of scissors. That's not necessarily representative of the actual angle that's going to be on there. That's simply where I put it in this jig. Once it's in there, this is a diamond wheel. Here, it cuts very quickly and very cool. So I then will, once the machine is running, the wheel will be spinning in the direction of the blade. I will then move, whoops, put that back there. I will move the blade across the wheel and grind a new edge on, but I can also move my jig. So this way I can create that convex. I can create an edge, then I can change the angle, and I can convex that edge with this wheel. Putting a convex on a horizontal style machine is a slightly different technique. On the horizontal style machine, the wheel will be spinning and we would simply put the blade down on the wheel and convex it. As the wheel's spinning this way, I would be bringing it across the wheel and convexing by hand. This is how they convex and sharpen the scissors in most of the factories in Japan, using a horizontal record player style abrasive. And this abrasive they can change. They'll put a finer one on, they'll put a polishing pad on, so that'll change. That's essentially the other style of sharpening. I'm gonna turn the machine on now, and I'll do a pass. We'll put an edge on this blade. It's hard to talk over the noise. We've got a brand new beautiful edge on that blade. So the edge is established on the one side of the blade. It's important now that we do the other side, or the bottom of the blade, so that we can turn that burr up. We've created a burr along the edge. I can feel a brand new edge along there. Now we have to do the base of the blade. And the way we do the base of the blade is with micron paper. This is kind of like sandpaper, but really, really fine. This is 5 micron, this paper. It's got a adhesive back on it. So I simply adhere the micron paper to the piece of glass. And now we have a beautiful 2500 grit polishing stone. So I'll put the blade down on that, and I'm gonna pull it across, and I establish a new ride line
along the bottom of the scissor, a nice fine little line. We talked about the ride line of the scissor in our last video.
So we've put a new edge on the top of the blade. We've polished the base of the blade to turn up the burr. Now I need to polish the top of the blade to knock that burr off that we have there now and create a brand new beautiful polished edge. Now this is a 2500 grit piece of micron paper. After a few passes it very quickly gets polished. So it will go from a 2500 grit to a 3000 grit to a 5000 grit. I'm going to polish the top of the blade and then I'm going to go over the micron paper again so that we get a nicer polish on the base of the blade. So it's going to just be like a razor when we're done. So I'm going to polish it now. So we put the edge on, we ground the edge on the diamond wheel on this side. Now I'm simply going to reverse the jig or flip the jig, and I'm going to bring the whole assembly over to the polishing side. And now the polishing wheel is going to polish the edge and knock that burr off. Effectively going to use the same motion on the polishing side as I did on the grinding side. I'll be bringing the blade across the polishing wheel and then I'll be moving the jig up and down to move the blade for a convex style polishing as I showed earlier. Okay, we've got a good polish on this now. So I'm just going to do one more pass over here on the micron paper so that we have a really nice polish on the bottom, and then one last quick pass on the top of the edge to knock that little micro burr off. So it's going to get loud. Done. I just got to put the scissor back together now. A finished, sharpened, polished blade, and I'll usually give it a little test. I'll just make sure that it hooks my hair. I mean, if I shave myself, I mean, I can do a little demonstration where I shave, but I mean, if I shaved myself with every scissor, then I'd have no hair left on my arm. So I just test it to see if it hooks the hair gently. Okay, so it's beautifully sharp. Now I put the scissor back together. I put the post through, and on this one here we know that the washer's on there nice and tight. So post and washer go in. Then this has got a little square on the post, so I got to make sure that the square that's inside the other blade fits on there properly. And on this particular scissor, the clicker plate on the Design Master has to feed into that little hole there, and then on goes the tension knob, which you can hear it clicking away there, and I make sure I waggle it a little bit to set the washer in there so that everything is nice and snug. And then I like to set the tension so that the blade is, when I hold it at 9 o'clock, I guess when you're looking at it there, maybe it's, when I'm looking at it, it's 9 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock for you, I believe. So I'll let it drop, and that's a little tight. I'd like the tension to be so that for me, when I'm looking at it, if you were holding your scissors in front of you, they would drop to about 11 o'clock. So that's getting pretty close to where you want it right there. Drop it right there to 11 o'clock for me, and then you just make sure that they feel nice and smooth. So that is a simple overview of the basic steps involved in sharpening a pair of scissors, I realized when we were doing this video that there's actually a lot more to it, and I got maybe a little technical sometimes, but there's really a lot more details I could get into. One of the aspects that is important to remember is taking off as little metal as possible. You want to maintain the integrity of this convex design. So the more metal you take off, the more you have to alter the scissors design in order to maintain the proper integrity. So if you've got a big chip in your scissors, more metal has to be taken off. It's going to change the integrity of the initial design of the blade. So we like to take off as little metal as possible so that we don't have to alter the blade too much. But gives you a sense of the sharpening procedure. Thanks for checking us out.